Hello there, welcome to the program where we are discussing about Zimbabwe and the Constitution Amendment Bill number 3, which is in court today. The Constitutional Court of Zimbabwe is sitting following an application which was filed by war veterans as well as former opposition MP Prince Matuwego Sibanda, who are challenging this amendment bill. But to help us dissect and delve into this issue, we have former MDC national chairperson, who has also been a senator from representing the opposition in the Material North Province, Senator Morgan Komichi. Senator, welcome to the program and a very good day.
Thank you so much. You are most welcome.
Let's begin here, Senator. In 2013, you were in government, and then opposition under Morgan Tsvangirai as the leader pushed for the country to have a new constitution, following more than 20 amendments which had been done to our Lancaster House constitution. And it gave us this constitution, which is amendment number 21, and as a new constitution. So far, we've had 2 amendments. What do you make of that?
It is actually unfortunate because the 2013 constitution was a result of a democratic struggle. It didn't come on the silver platter. The people of Zimbabwe had to force the Mugabe government to agree to write a new constitution to democratize the governance in this country, to deal with the human rights issues in this country, to make sure that people were not abused by the police. Remember the POSA times. Remember that the courts were going to be very independent. Remember that we had to have ZEC as independent institution and many other institutions, the Gender Commission, the Peace and Reconciliation Commission, to make sure that traditional leaders were not supposed to be part of the election system because they're quasi-judicial people, to make sure that the elements of voters' roll were removed from the executive arm of the government to an independent institution, Implementation Commission as well. All these things were a reform agenda which the opposition movement under Morgan Tsvangirai had embarked to deal with. So a lot of achievement was packed in the constitution, a lot of it. Most of the reforms that Zimbabweans wanted are found in the 2013 constitution. However, the challenge has been the realignment of those reforms to the Acts of Parliament. We noticed deliberate denial or refusal of the ZANU-PF government to align what was in the constitution to the Acts of Parliament. There's been dilly-dally all along. We did not know their intention. We were surprised by why they were doing that.
Were you surprised, or you had too much faith in ZANU-PF then? I say so because immediately it became clear that Robert Mugabe didn't want, for instance, the running mate clause, didn't want to kickstart immediately. And thank God, or whatever I would say, it is gone already. We're surprised, can I say so?
Yes, this is what the ZANU-PF began to do thereafter. But remember, the 2013 constitution was a product of a cooperation. We had a team from the opposition and we had a team from ZANU-PF. We worked together and drafted the constitution and actually sponsored the constitution to the people of Zimbabwe to vote for it. And it got 94%. So what was in the constitution was not forced on either of the parties. It was a negotiated document in which the 2 parties, or the 3 parties as such, we had Westman Nwe's team as well there, they were negotiated. And the 2013 constitution should be respected in my view, because it came out of the cooperation of all political parties per se. So what they then saw or what they then felt, was that the 2013 constitution favored the opposition fraternity more. They lost the game in the negotiation. They lost the game in the consultation process of the people. The views that came in majority were for reform agenda. With the views that came from the people supported the opposition movement.
Is it about ZANU-PF or it's about the people of Zimbabwe? Because you are presenting as if it was a ZANU-PF affair and not a Zimbabwean affair. Who lost in this case? Was it about what the people want or what Robert Mugabe and this crew wanted?
What came out of the 2013 constitution was what the people wanted. But a group of ZANU-PF people failed defeated, failed humiliated. They are now on the revenge process. They want to revenge. They want to reverse all those gains which the people had got out of this process. So they are angry with the people. They don't like the people to enjoy the constitutional rights which they fought for and which they all helped to build up. So they don't want the people to continue enjoying. So we are here at a stage where we witness the process taking place right now as a way of reversing the gains of the democratic struggle, as a way of punishing the people because it neutralized their excessive powers which they had before the constitution.
Let's come to CAPE 3. It brings in a lot of changes. Chief among them, the aspect of the term for the president or the lifespan of parliament. It moves from 5 to 7. Those are the proposals. It also deals with, takes back the voters' roll to the office of the Registrar General, something which was moved from into this new constitution. In your view, don't you think that Robert Mugabe and his team then were just massaging or were just portraying themselves as they are agreeing to a reform agenda, when in actual fact they were buying time and would weak the opposition? I believe they've won it already.
You could be correct in the sense that one of the issues that we were dealing with was to prevent or eliminate long distance leaders in governance of any country, of our country. We had gone through a period of almost, actually went through a period of 37 years. And we said, never again shall we have long distance leaders. So the spirit behind that clause of the terms was to make sure that no any other Zimbabwean president would exceed a period of maximum of 10 years, 5 years per term. That was the spirit, to lock the presidential term to 10 years. That was the spirit. And we said we will not want to see any other president who will go beyond that. If you are not a good president, you only do 5 terms. But if the people vote you again, you can only go out maximum of 10 years. That's the spirit. We were saying any extra period from the 10 years is an extension. That was in the minds of the drafters. Because what you can do is, you can actually break down the 10 years into days, the days into hours, hours into minutes. So any extra minute on top of 10 years is an extension. There is no, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to define that. What was the spirit of the drafters? What was the spirit of the people of Zimbabwe when they were drafting the constitution? They were saying no any other second or any other day or any other hour after the 10 years would the man or a woman remain in the office of the president. So they are violating the constitution right away. And we went on to say, if the president becomes over-ambitious and want to amend this constitution, he or she must go back to the people for a referendum to make sure that if there's any decision to amend, to change that clause, the people of Zimbabwe must be consulted. That was the spirit. And we went on further to lock that, by saying, if you then manage to change that amendment through referendum, the incumbent will not benefit. What was the idea? To discourage the incumbent to be persuaded or to persuade people to change the terms. That was the spirit. So when the guys are arguing about we are not extending, they are going against the spirit. They are taking advantage of the people that wrote that constitution. We are not English people. We are Zimbabweans. Probably could have missed in terms of the language. But what we wanted to do, or to fix in Zimbabwe was to fix the long-distance leader attitude, which we had experienced in our Mugabe.
You wanted to fix the longevity stay, or the long stay of any leader in power more than 10 years.
Yes.
But also, you also forgot to tackle the appetite, which is inherent in people.
The appetite, we actually wanted to, we also tackled the appetite. We said, if you extend the period of being in the office of the president, the incumbent will not benefit.
So, but you give a provision to say, if you wish to take the people, meaning you are saying you can subject to the people. So I believe you gave a room.
Constitutionally, constitutions are amended.
Okay.
World over.
Okay.
Constitutions are there to guide normal people to run their governments well, to guide normal people to run their people well. But we have people with excessive desire or excessive appetite.
So we are agreeing that the process of amending this constitution is all right in terms of the idea to amend the constitution.
Amending the constitution
is okay.
It's not preventable.
Okay.
Constitutions can be amended, but we must then be guided by the constitution itself, because it prescribed how the constitution can be amended. In this situation, we are saying, if President Mnangagwa wants to amend the constitution,
yes,
he must not bypass the people in terms of referendum. We want people to be consulted in terms of the referendum, not to bypass and try to use parliament as an excuse of changing fundamental clauses for constitution. And by so doing, you are violating the constitution. So the current process of changing this clause of the term limits is a violation of the constitution.
The proponents or those who are pushing for this idea, they are saying that since time immemorial, since the dawn of opposition politics, or the vibrance, if there's anything that has been seen by, or what comes out of elections, is violence, disruption, death, in most instances. Do you think that if we extend by 2 years, those things would have been dealt with?
No. What causes the issue that I've raised is the failure to respect the same constitution. It's failure to respect the institutions empowered by the constitution to function. ZANU-PF has been known for rigging elections. ZANU-PF has been losing elections on several occasions.
Even after 5 years?
I say so with authority,
yes,
and confidence, because I've been the chief election agent of 2 presidents. I've been a chief elections under President Morgan Komichi, and also became the chief election agent in 2018 under President Misa. At no day or any time did I sign to verify the results of the presidential race on all those 3 occasions. Never. Results used to come through the window. Not even the ZEC authorities were counting the results. When I went on podium in 2018 and declared that the results were fake, I was talking from authority, from knowledge, because I never signed them. Actually, I was in the office of Selaigwana, just like we were today, waiting to receive the results for us to verify and sign, only to see the then ZEC chairperson walking from her office to the podium And I followed. She announced fake results. And I stood up and said to the nation in its entirety, the results that you have listened to are fake because I never signed them. So that would trigger the violence. That would trigger the anxiety in the people. So if a president comes on the seat and runs the whole process according to the constitution of the country, the people will never fight.
So you mean even if you go for 10 years with the president, if a process is contaminated, it remains contaminated?
Yes.
But one aspect which comes out very clear and loud is that what has been the toxicity aspect is the presidential election, not the entire election. Do you agree with that?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Let me tell you, elections are rigged in the farming community. Elections are rigged in Mberengwa. Elections are rigged in Shirets. Elections are rigged in Zarabani. And elections are rigged in Gokwe. There is intense intimidation in those areas.
Does that rigging...
The community is intimidated to a point that they will not want to see you being a polling agent in the village you stay.
Does that rigging affect the councillors, the MPs? Because it has appeared as if the rigging is only affects the presidents.
ZANU-PF deliberately wants to push for the majority in parliament. So in areas that I've mentioned, people are intimidated. They are threatened by losing their homesteads. They are threatened by violence. We go there in Mzaraban. We go there in Gokwe, in Berengwa, in Shirezi. In these particular areas, there is no freedom. The people don't enjoy their democratic rights, their constitutional rights to vote. And those are sources of conflicts that will end up people reacting. So we still call for the president to be normal enough to appreciate that when the people of Zimbabwe choose their own president or their member of parliament or their own councillor, that person must be declared the winner. We are all blacks. We fought for this country to rule, to govern ourselves. ZANU-PF continues to divide the people along lines of partisanship. That is very wrong. The liberation was not for ZANU. The liberation was for the people of Zimbabwe, such that the people of Zimbabwe should be able to nominate or elect the president of their own choice. Whether he comes from ZANU, he comes from ZAPU, he comes from MDC, he comes from... As long as that person is popular with the people, ZANU-PF must get rid of that mentality. The liberation struggle was for them to rule forever.
But Senator Komichi, what has become topic is about the issue of rigging coming from the opposition. There has been less evidence. In 2018, the opposition struggled in the Concord to present the V11s for rigging. Therefore, one would argue and say the rigging becomes a myth and not a reality.
Hear it from me, my brother. Hear it from me. Rigging is not a myth. ZANU-PF has never defeated MDC in any election since inception.
But you've never won it to say you rigged through A, B, C, D.
Let me tell you.
Why?
In 2008, ZANU-PF got 23%. MDC got 73.8%. That is why the system came at the Sheraton House. And it took every documentation that we had by force. Closed down all the computers that we're using. Took away all the files which had the V11s. And disappeared for 5 weeks. Doing their own counting and their reconciliation of results. In the bush somewhere. Where we never knew as the part in the chief election agent. Prior to that, ZANU-PF officials came to Morgan Komichi, sent by Robert Mugabe, to hand over power. Morgan Komichi signed these officials to draft the letter of assurance because they had concerns about their security, about their future, about their families and their property. The MDC officials wrote a document of assurance, handed over to the two gentlemen that had been sent by Mugabe. Mugabe took his vehicle and his family and went to the airport to run away from Zimbabwe, because he when it overpowered Morgan Komichi. But the current president and his team brought Mugabe back and put him in a sanctuary for a month. And they forced a runoff which was full of violence. A runoff which was commanded by 208 generals. The lowest rank was a major. Every constituency was commanded by a military guy, supported by armed forces, to force people to vote for ZANU-PF again.
I agree with that.
That is the evidence that we have. That is the.
Let's come to the two elections which have been so topical, probably which have brought us to amend the current constitution, 2018 and 2023. The issue of evidence has remained topic. Let's agree.
No, I cannot agree to that, because what I'm telling you.
Maybe take us through.
I told you, there are certain areas where our people are chased away deliberately, such as farming communities in the area that I've mentioned, where our people will be chased away to monitor the elections, chased away violently, and those are not allowed. Those actions are not allowed to happen during an election. So what they then do, in those areas where they will have chased your polling agents, they would produce fake V11s. Fake V11s are the ones that would which they will use then to add up for the total result.
It simply means you'll be basing on an assumption, because
it's not an assumption.
I mean, you don't have evidence. You've got evidence. Your evidence is derived from absence of it. To say we can't prove, but because of our members are not there, therefore we can't prove, but it's what happened. One would say, not until when we have enough tangible evidence to say this one happened, therefore it's the stand of point.
You don't need any evidence more further than that, because when your polling agent is chased away, that's enough evidence. Why did you chase the polling agent away? What is your intention? So can we then accept the V11 that will come from that polling station? Can we accept the results that will come from that process? When in many areas where our people are going to be chased away, that's enough evidence to show that the intention was to rig. Because if you were a democratic organization in state or government, you would have not chased away the polling agent Peter or Mary. So the fact that you are chasing away, you are intimidating, you are using traditional leaders, you are using war veterans, you are using FAS to intimidate people in those particular elections. That election does not qualify to be free and fair.
Why has the opposition failed to mobilize, at least from a grassroots level? What has been the biggest impediment? One would say it's disorganization.
In terms of mobilizing for what?
To have at least a buffer to guard against intimidation, to guard against manipulation, failure to have polling agents.
I have given an example of 2008, where we mobilized.
Yeah, we've moved.
I'm trying to say that is not going to be an answer, because we did that. We mobilized, and the people voted for us. Remember, that is the year we scored almost 60% of Mashingo, 70% of Manicaland. We had mobilized. But still, what did they do? They went to an extent of taking away or invading the ZEC center, invading it, took away the equipment, and disappeared for 5 weeks. So they can go to those extents. So it is the mentality we are trying to say. ZANU-PF must run away from the mentality ukuthi chero vanhu vasingadi kana vachida will rule this country. Because we've demonstrated that people can vote against ZANU-PF.
Let's move to the issue of, in the clause, the Cap 3, the issue of direct vote of the president.
That's actually a violation of the Bill of Rights.
Why? How?
The Bill of Rights says every Zimbabwean will have the the constitutional right to vote in any election.
Yes, they'll vote. What they will not vote, what they will not vote is concerning Ncube as a presidential candidate. They would vote for the party where Ncube comes from.
That is the election that is in the constitution, the presidential vote, and you are removing it. So you're already starving the people from voting for the president because it is there in the constitution. It's not a new idea. You are amending a constitution which violates the people's rights to vote for the president.
The idea is that, from those who are pushing it, that it's the presidential election that has become so toxic, such that people are divided on the president. Do you agree with that, first and foremost?
It becomes toxic because ZANU-PF does not want to open up for free and fair. They are the ones who rig and manipulate. What they are trying to do now, they want to create an environment or a situation where a president would not be confirmed by the people. But they are now going to use parliamentarians, which is a bypass of the people's right to choose their own president. But the parliament does not necessarily represent the people.
But do you agree with the notion that the presidential election is the most toxic compared to the parliamentary competition or the local authority competition? Do you agree with the notion that this is where toxicity is derived from?
It is because of the attitude of ZANU-PF, who don't want to be defeated in election. So they'll create that toxicity and use it as an excuse for them to withdraw the people's rights to vote.
So it will
be saying if they would allow people to elect without them getting or getting interfering in the process of election, there will be no toxicity. It is an attitude which creates toxicity. If you are to respect the constitution of the country and follow the whole process according to this country's constitution, there will be no toxicity. Why is the toxicity not taking place in Botswana? Why is the toxicity not taking place in Zambia? Why is the toxicity not taking place in South Africa? Why is the toxicity taking place only in countries where people have got attitudes like the Mozambique? The attitude in the Mozambicans, the Zimbabweans, the Kenyans, the Tanzanians, the attitude is the same. Ugandans, the attitude is the same. Those leaders that are in those areas don't believe that any other African can become the president of the country. They believe that their own people from their own party are the people with the right to become president. That mentality and attitude creates toxicity, creates violence, because the people's rights are being undermined. You want the people to keep quiet. People must stand up and fight. People must defend themselves. People must liberate themselves. People must continue to challenge the regime.
But do you agree with the notion that if we remove the presidential competition from the electoral cycle, violence, toxicity would go away?
No, it won't go away.
Why?
Because the people that will be voting there, they can still upset the majority of the parliamentarians in favor of ZANU-PF. So ZANU-PF, to maintain its majority in parliament, it will be violent in those particular areas. Let me tell you how they will do it using this CAP 3. They've militarized the traditional leaders. They've handed over a gun to the traditional leader, to the Sabuk, to make sure that on the voting day, there will be a military command vote coming from ZANU-PF to the traditional leaders to command people in the rural areas to go and vote for their preferred candidate. Now that the traditional leaders do have power over our community, they will tell you, Baba Ncube, if you don't vote for ZANU-PF candidate, when you come back, you pack and go. They will use FAS. They've already tested FAS to make sure that people will either vote and show you. They've been doing it, where people in the rural areas vote and show ZANU-PF people. So the militarization that is going to be done to traditional leaders will make the rural people very, very difficult to vote for any other opposition party. So which means they've designed this CAP deliberately to make sure that they will always have the majority in parliament, which means even if 5 million people vote for the opposition, it will not change. 5 million would need a president of their own choice. But the 2 million who will have voted for ZANU-PF will have a president in parliament. How? Let me explain to you. When they moved the voters roll from ZEC
Yes.
Independent Commission,
Yes.
to the Registrar General, which is an executive office, which reports to the Minister of Home Affairs.
Yes.
The Minister of Home Affairs will report to the President.
Yes.
The President, who is ZANU-PF,
Yes.
that minister is also ZANU-PF. They will directly command the Registrar General to make sure that by designing through the Delimitation Commission, they will minimize, they would create an inferior number of parliamentarians in the urban center or in all areas where the opposition takes charge. What they would do, the Registrar General will simply de-enfranchise voters in Harare.
But why so?
If there are going to be 2 million, the Registrar General will declare 1.5 million, which therefore means the numbers of constituents in Harare will be reduced from 31 to 25. They will go to Bulawayo. If the voters are 1 million, they would declare 600,000, so that the allocation of seats in Bulawayo will move down from 12 to 8. And do you already know, as we stand right now, the numbers of voters in the urban constituents are naturally more than the numbers of voters in the rural constituents. They will make it worse. That is why when we fought for the 2013 constitution, we took away that responsibility from Toba Mdede because we had suffered enough through that manipulation. So the work between the traditional leaders, the Delimitation Commission, and the voters' roll, it was going to give a permanent victory for ZANU-PF, which means if the minority of the people vote for more members of parliament because of this design that I've explained, and the majority of the people in Zimbabwe vote for 80 members of parliament, the president becomes the ZANU-PF candidate. Yet the people at their own hearts voted for an opposition party in terms of presidential vote. So which means that if we allow this animal to pass, if we allow this animal to go through, we'll have violated the constitutional rights of the people to choose their own president.
You speak so passionately about if we allow this animal to pass, but the opposition at present is in 6 and 7. Yes, we'll talk about that as we go by. Let's talk about the issue of the CAB 3 moves commissions, removes gender commission, or abolishes gender commissions, takes the function to the Human Rights Commission. In your view, what would be the thrust of that? And what are the dangers?
It shows how serious this government is with the modern trends. The modern trends is that we must have serious attitudes to make sure that we improve the lives of the women.
But the current the current gender commission has done less to improve that. Do you think?
No. There's going to be a mix-up. It will depend on the head of that. Which area does she or does he want to concentrate on? Human rights in general are different from the particular issue that deal with the woman, with the women. Women is a particular gender issue that needs particular attention. And the process of empowering our women must continue undisturbed. I see no reason why these guys should then go and bunch such an important commission, gender commission, with the general human rights.
I mean,
the general human rights must be dealt with. They are not yet over. We don't enjoy human rights in this country. Opposition people are not allowed to hold rallies freely. Just look what happened during the CAB consultations. Tendai Bit went to Mutare. He had a private meeting which did not need the police. Today is a prisoner. Young people, they are arrested for nothing. We've got about 14 people today that are arrested. People that were picked from Chitungwiza under the Monzora MDC. Arrested before the day of action. We have students today that are languishing in the prisons. Those are human rights violations. So the plate of the human rights is still full. So you are not overflowing the plate of the.
But the arguments are that human rights and women rights go concurrently. You can't separate the two. Therefore, it would be ideal. What women activists want are the same things that human rights activists want: accessibility, access before the law. You talk of election, you talk of empowerment, you talk of economic empowerment. All those things can be or could be covered under human rights. I don't know. Do you?
Please, don't lie. Don't lie. The gender for the women still needs our attention. We've not reached the point, at a point where we can say they can sail through just like any other, like you, men. Let's not do that. We need to be deliberate in approach because of the historical background of our women in Zimbabwe. We have to be particular to ourselves. What can we do to make sure that we help this gender to be uplifted in occupying positions of influence? It is not probably in 20, 30 years to come from now. We can consider that. But for now, please, let's leave the Gender Commission under, where it was. Just like, just imagine the Peace and Reconciliation Commission. President Mnangagwa thinks kuti maunzu ekumatebhile ndakapera. That is what they think. He doesn't know that graves are still there around Pamusha. We still have that Balagwe graves where people go and see their relatives that were made during the ground. We still have that bone of contention.
How can those wounds be healed through Cape 3?
The way they've done through Cape 3, they've wasted it. They've neglected the people of Matabeleland. They've ignored the ground impact that was negated on the people of Matabeleland. It's being insensitive for a president to remove the Peace and Reconciliation Commission. That issue will not die with time. That issue will not go away with time. If he thinks that it is going to be ignored, the future generation shall pay. So a clever president should have left the Peace and Reconciliation and pursued the programs under Peace and Reconciliation. Deal with issues. The conflict has not been handled. The conflict has not been dealt with. The conflict is still alive. So we don't want that Peace and Reconciliation to be removed. Just like we don't want the Gender Commission to be removed. Those are necessary commissions. We respect them. And they were put for a purpose in 2013 Constitution.
One would argue, Mr. Komichi, that not until this generation was involved in Kukuraunde, there will be no solution to it. Because this generation does not want to own up, does not want a serious and honest discussion about it. Do you agree with that thought?
That is the problem that we have. That is the attitude that we had. That is the attitude that has caused problems in this country. That's the attitude that has caused even the abject poverty that our people are going through here. To deny the people's rights. But to deny to listen.
So we are agreeing.
These people, it's not going to be like that, my brother. They are living their own kids. Do you know the Herbert Chitepo ideology? Yes. 1962, 1964, Tanzania and Kenya got independent. Look at the attitude of the people today. It is still the same like what was left by their own forefathers. They will not change the attitude. People in Tanzania lose elections. They hit people. They rig. People in Kenya lose elections. They hit people and they rig. People in Mozambique lose elections. They hit people and they rig. So they will leave the legacy to their children. Nasuno remove the age. Zana Mnangagwa says, Zana Pam Chinguris, remove them. There will be small Mnangagwas and small Chinguris that will come out.
So you mean that
they pursue the legacy of human rights abuse.
So you mean that issues, the question from Matabeleland is far from being over?
It's far from this over.
Even if we wipe out every...
My brother, I've never seen Mbuyaneanda. But when I hear how Mbuyaneanda was abused by the whites, when I see a tree which is said to have been where she was hanged, I feel affected. When was that? in the 1890s. So that will never go away. Don't think that you can resolve the conflict by ignoring it. Attend to it.
Let's move also. The CAP 3 deals with the chiefs. It empowers the chiefs to have political rights. Like everybody else, you and I have got rights. We vote. The chiefs vote, but they can't declare their part of choice. I mean, that's good. I mean, they are equal before the law.
I don't know how they think.
They are equal before the law.
A traditional leader is a judge.
They deal with cases of less political importance.
Chief Kumalo of Matabele North also. He's the Chief Justice. He's the Chief Justice. Traditional leaders are quasi-judges. Those people, they preside over cases in the rural community. They even pass judgments in the rural people, in the rural communities. They deal with conflicts between families in the rural people. They deal with thieves in the rural people.
Yeah, but those are not political contestations. Allow them to have rights to stand up and say, I'm Bernem DC, I'm Bernem Zan.
Now just imagine when that chief is going to operate. Political activist.
But you know
and they operate under the command of Daniel Garwe, being the Minister of Local Government. Do you know Daniel Garwe? Do you know him?
Yes, I know him.
Do you know him?
Yes, I know him very well.
When he commands the traditional leaders to vote for ZANU-PF, when the traditional leaders know that if they don't vote for ZANU-PF or command or campaign for ZANU-PF, you'll be removed from the chieftainship.
But in actual fact, they're activists. What you're only trying they're refusing them to be regularized or to be known.
Chief Justice Elizabeth Bounds, she has got political rights, and she also goes and vote for her own choice. But because she's a Chief Justice who presides over issues that deals with conflicts within the country in terms of the law, she cannot join ZANU-PF openly. But she will go and vote for ZANU-PF if she so wants. So the same qualification which Chief Justice Elizabeth Gwamza has is the same qualification which Chief Nkomalo of the traditional head president has, and his own entourage, and his entire entourage. They are judges, just like the Chief Justice under her. They are judges and they are magistrates. If you see a magistrate putting on an MDC T-shirt, people must brush him from the back. If a judge is seen putting on a ZANU-PF T-shirt, he must be held accountable. So the same should apply to the traditional leaders. If a traditional leader is going to be put on a jacket with ZANU-PF, please, Namgabi, please, I want to beg you. Please don't do that. Please don't make our traditional leaders ZANU-PF activists or any political activist. I want to beg you. But it is a serious human rights violation. It's a serious abuse of the people's general intellect.
But you are suppressing their rights to be known who they support.
By virtue of your position, your rights, you should surrender them. If you are a chief, you surrender political rights. If you are a judge, you surrender political rights. If you are a magistrate...
So you are trying to say, Chief Nyamweda, like where I come from, Chief Nyamweda, or probably my one chief Skowokobo, there in Nkai, or Chief Chiwara, down in Mashungos there, has no right.
He has no right.
To even stand up or raise a fist, or even raise an open palm, or raise one finger.
He has no rights whatsoever to promote any political party. His right remains in voting only. By virtue of the position that he holds, he loses that right of doing toy. Please, that will destroy this country.
Let's move forward. It also brings in the aspect of the president having a prerogative to appoint the judges of the superior courts.
Just imagine.
I mean, world over, even America,
just imagine.
The president has the right, because those people are there to interpret the Constitution. Those people are there to serve the interests of the executive, isn't it so?
Zimbabweans are very unlucky.
Why do you say so?
They are very unfortunate that we have a party called ZANU-PF in our midst. That's very unfortunate. Do you know, in terms of governance, ZANU-PF passed a political party resolution in sometime 82, 83, where they said ZANU-PF shall direct the operations of the government.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know that?
Yes, yes, yes. The party is superior than the government. The supremacy of the party.
That's where the devil starts. That's where the dangers of our governance starts from. Do you know what it means now? If you take the two, ZANU-PF and the government, the Politburo becomes the cabinet.
But that's what ought to be, because the people voted for ZANU-PF and its policies. Therefore, what ought to be implemented is what was voted for.
Do you know the dangers of that?
Yes.
Which therefore means when ZANU-PF sees an executive officer running the things properly, the person becomes the enemy of ZANU-PF.
So you mean ZANU-PF has got no good policies that they can follow through?
They got a dangerous attitude. Dangerous attitude. ZANU-PF as a party would hate the ZEC chairperson if the ZEC chairperson can run according to the constitution. He can run the ZEC affairs according to the constitution. Which means even our judges, if a judge rules against what ZANU-PF wants there at the headquarters, that judge becomes an enemy of ZANU-PF. Now, when we introduce the judicial system to select the judges for the president to appoint, we wanted to reduce the influence of ZANU-PF as a part on appointing judges. Now, if we remove that, naturally, the human mentality, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. That's human mentality. Naturally, a person, if I give you this book like this, receive it.
Yes.
Can you react? What do you say?
Thank you.
Thank you is a short statement of, if tomorrow I get something, I will give you also. Thank you is just a brief statement, but a complete statement. If mangwana ndawana something,
but the best thing
listen, which therefore means if Emerson Mnangagwa today is going to appoint me as the judge or as the chief justice from his own head, what I would do is mangwana president kana makudo favor ndichakuitirai.
But the people are
now,
pushing. Hold on.
Now the president wants the Cap 3 to pass. Now, naturally, if I were the Chief Justice, because I was appointed, not through a process, Yakanaga, I might actually play the favor. So this is what we are saying. No, judges must not be appointed by the president as a person.
I hear you, but proponents of that thought are saying that all judges who have been appointed through that system of interviews, they are performing dismally. They've been subjected to a lot of misconduct inquiries. If you look at the number of judges who have gone through an inquiry since the progression of a new constitution, quite a number compared to those who have been fired during the Mugabe era when he was allowed to appoint as when he wanted to. That shows that the system of interviews is failing on the issue of integrity test. It's failing there. So the best way, let's go back to where we were.
We cannot go back there. We have a challenge of what I've explained to you. If President Mnangagwa appoints a judge today,
I hear you that part.
Or his judge, or
that part is very clear.
Judges,
yes.
That does not mean that they'll stop being corrupt. Corruption is an issue that must be attended to differently. Incompetence is an issue that must be dealt with differently. We don't defend corruption. We don't defend incompetence. That must be dealt with. That's not the excuse. He will also make a wrong judgment himself. He will also appoint a judge who is as bad as that one before. So that's not an excuse to then take the power from a system that was put in place to centralization of the power. We're saying you cannot be everything. You cannot go back to the king behavior. Let us not be kings. We had kings before. Today we are in a democratic state. Let's allow institutions to work. Let's allow processes to follow the constitution. We don't want to create a king, a monarchy. We don't want that. So Mnangagwa should run away from such kind of influence.
Do you think Mnangagwa wants to create a monarchy? The way things are running so far. Do you think there's an attempt to create a monarchy?
If I were to write a thesis about how I see CAB is going to create a monarchy if we're not careful. We're going to have a kingdom. Chances are that there will be a kingdom called Mnomtap. Okay, with chances are that we'll have a king in this country.
There's been a pronouncement of that.
Created from this CAB.
The president said it last week. He said that he's creating a new state house based on the ideas of Mnomtap. He also says that Samamba Konachfamba, he doesn't make announcements, he's moving. Do you think, are they telltale signs that there could be a kingdomship coming in Zimbabwe?
It's likely.
But what can stop it?
Well, White, we don't want it.
What will stop it if it will happen? What will stop it?
As it is now, the people's rights have been removed. If CAP 3 passes, the kingdom will be there.
Let's talk about today. There's a court processes. Do you have confidence in it?
I don't have confidence in it. I don't have confidence in it because in our records, there could be 1 or 0 where our courts ruled against the president's desire. During Mugabe's time, I never saw one court which ZANU-PF wanted, and the court ruled against it.
What to stop CAP 3?
It's God. God will stop it.
We've put our faith in God.
God will stop it.
You are telling me that the opposition, with all the numbers, they failed.
Let us be realistic about that. The last time I witnessed a genuine opposition, highly organized, effective in dealing with people's issues. The opposition that was able to hold ZANU-PF accountable and put it in line. The last time I saw that was the day Morgan Komichi passed on. Thereafter, the last 7 years, I've witnessed the disintegration of the opposition fraternity.
Why? As a person, as Morgan Komichi, what have you contributed to that in terms of disintegration of the party? How much have you contributed to that?
Very little.
But you have.
Very little.
But you have.
To allow you. To be fair to you. Very little. But the disintegration of the opposition movement, we talked about it at the inset. If we do this, we'll disintegrate. If we do this, we'll disintegrate. If we do that, but my friend, Zamuna knows Zika. If you want to listen, you can take advice. If you don't want to listen, the choice is yours. But we discuss these things to do it. For an example, let me give you an example. People would say in Nama riddles. When Mashavire case was announced by the High Court, remember I was the national chairperson.
Yes.
So I was also instructed by the High Court.
Yes.
To respect the rule of law.
Yes.
And respect your own constitution.
Yes.
I took leaders from MDC who were junior to me. I sat down with them. We discussed the High Court order. We all agreed that the High Court order was correct in its entirety. We did not follow our own constitution, Section 931A.
Morgan Komichi destroyed the opposition.
Which said when the president demises, an acting president takes over, and within 12 months' time, you must go for the Istanbul Congress. We did not do that. That was our first mistake. If we had the acting president, gone for the Congress, Istanbul Congress, came out of the president, there was no going to be any Supreme Court challenge. There was not going to be High Court challenge because we have done what the Constitution says. So we did not follow our MDC Constitution. That was the trigger of the opposition demise. MDC people did not follow the MDC Constitution, Section 931A. That is where we started this.
And this is where
these-
CAP 3
all
began,
these,
I would say.
All these are an avalanche of a volcano that got initiated by Section 931A, which says, "Kana president vakafa, an ex-president takes over. And within a period of 12 months, you must go and elect the replacement of the deceased president."
So one would say this is where ZANU-PF began to drive into, because the opposition was dying and they were reversing back to its idea of pre-2019 election.
The opposition initiated its own destruction and failed to handle internal conflicts. ZANU-PF took advantage. Yes.
We are now where we are, Mr. Komichi. And you have said that the fate for Zimbabwe is only with God. No human effort can save it.
We could have saved. Unfortunately, I don't know what God wants. I don't know. An effort was put to organize the people through a process of unification of the opposition fragmentation. And say, let us put our heads together and defend this constitution and reject CAP 3. Unfortunately, that did not materialize.
Why?
Unfortunately, that failed.
Is it are the opposition leaders so hungry for money
When
that they want?
When initially I thought probably I was the wrong person. Probably I was the wrong Messiah to advocate for it. But there is also a man who is known to be non-political in terms of parties, who also tried
What could be?
to bring us together,
What could be?
to be one, to be under one platform.
And that could be? That could be?
I know I am not allowed to say his name here,
Okay.
without his authority.
Okay.
But I can tell you, he tried. In my last checks with him, he said, "Kukwira makomo." That was his word. "Kukwira makomo," meaning things were not easy. So I don't still, at this stage, I don't understand what made us fail to come together. If we had come together, we would be talking something about CAP 3.
So you mean there will be no resistance to CAP 3? Looking at things in Parliament, you look at it. Chabangu is running the show.
Parliament. There's no resistance in Parliament. In Parliament today, there are just a number of 3, 4, 5 voices.
Individual voices.
Individual voices who still have, who still want to protect their soul. Majority of them will sell the soul. Do you know why? They will be motivated by the two-year term extension, because there's a personal benefit in it.
But do you think it's fair?
It's unfortunate that after the 2-year term, those same members of Parliament would find themselves in the jaws of CAP 3. And the jaws of CAP 3 are crocodile jaws. It will not release you.
But do you think it's fair for MPs to determine the extent of their own seats?
It's not fair. That's why I'm saying Parliament will not be able to resist.
What can Zimbabweans do? That woman in Kobalanda, what can you do? What can she do?
That is, the woman in Guamalanda was waiting for us to mobilize them. Was waiting for us to group. She was waiting for us to have a common united front, to have united opposition in defense of CAP 3. I know the woman was ready.
But how much?
No, generally, if you assess, 80% of the Zimbabweans don't like CAP 3.
How much has ZANU-PF poured into directly to the opposition leaders to support CAP 3? If you are being honest, Mr. Komichi.
I don't know.
But they've put in money to support it.
I don't know. But what I failed to understand, my brother, why did we fail to come together?
Is it money? Maybe
I don't know. Even up now, I still question. When I look at opposition leaders today, I say, what made us fail together?
One would say
Our
you're too selfish.
Could be. Our difference are not as important as defending Camp 3. Our bitterness, my differences, which are among opposition leaders, are not worth mentioning. Are not. No one can substantiate on the table to say, Komichi, you did this to me, so I don't want to work with you to save CAP.
Let me bring it down as one down, Mr. Komichi. What is your problem with Tendai? Do you have one?
Start with Chamisa.
No, I'm going there.
You've started with my friend.
What is your problem with? Okay, let me come to with Douglas Togara Simonzora. Do you have any problem with him?
Not over this question in CAP 3. No.
Do you have any problem with Jameson Timber?
I don't have the problem with Jameson Timber. Jameson Timber knows it.
Do you have a problem with Prince Matuego Sibanda?
I don't keep bitterness myself. I'm not that. Whatever problems that we had, and I don't keep those bitterness at the expense of the people's revolution.
Do you have a problem with Nelson Chamisa?
No, I don't have it.
Why are you not coming together?
I actually, to confess to you, I've approached all those leaders you've mentioned, either on cell phone, visited in their own houses or their offices, and begged them, let's say, gentlemen, let's come together and defend this CAP 3. But what you end up seeing tomorrow, a group of Jad running there, a group of that.
Is it money? Are you looking for donor funding?
I said, is it necessary?
I mean, is it about donor funding, Mr. Komichi?
I don't know. But is it necessary to have that safe Zimbabwe? Hey, chakati. Well, at least you are faced with one component. The opposition fraternity is competing is among itself other than complementing. We are CAP 3 is like going in the bush, in the forest where leopards and lions are. If I go alone, the lion will eat me and there will be no witness. But if I go with you, they probably will be the witness, or to tell the people how the lion ate me. Or you'll be the person to take a stone or a spear to save me from being eaten by the lion. That's the reason why I said CAP 3 is a lion. We are going in the bush, we're infested with lions. Let's go together. We can save each other when the lions are attacking us. But what I witnessed, Komichi wants to go there to Dr. Zita Nimbiri. I want to be known that I am fighting CAP 3.
So you mean there will be no one who will follow Morgan Tsvangirai's ideas, or probably the spirit of Morgan Tsvangirai?
The young generation, the young people today, wherever you are, come together and identify the second Morgan Tsvangirai.
That was Morgan Komichi, the former national chairperson of the MDC, talking to us about CAP 3. And this message is very clear. Only God can save Zimbabwe at present, because the opposition is in 6s and 7s. There is no idea, not even an appetite to unite. Thank you very much for watching. Please stay focused and follow us on YouTube, on Facebook. Watch for more programs of such nature as we try to dissect and discuss the impact, the meaning of CAP 3 on Zimbabwe's economy and its political landscape. For me, thank you so very much.